Who'd I hand it to?
I don't
swore
know.
it
Look
was
here and see if it's here.
No, I didn't. Okay. I thought I handed
Yeah.
it to Richie. Yes. Keeping things. Number one, we are honored to have the fire department here. When everybody gets in, I'm going to introduce them. We have a huge crowd here, so I asked, I know it's going to be hot and a little bit uncomfortable, but I asked that we all remain calm and, show the people from the county how sweet and nice we all are. I don't know why you're laughing. Oh, the other thing is, if you want to talk, to either make a statement or ask some questions, I need you to sign in, because once they give their presentation, we're going to have a very orderly process of calling on people to speak, okay? Again, there's a lot of people in here, and we want to make sure it's not a free-for-all. Hey! Attention, attention.
You're going to mention about cell phones?
Yes. Attention, everybody. Please. See, now this is the way you cannot act when our guest starts speaking. Because it's me, I'll cut you a break. Okay? Oh, all right. But when our guest starts speaking, I want everybody to be polite and listen. Please be polite. Thank you. Okay. Can everyone please turn off their cell phones? Thank you. Do we have everyone in here? Okay, I think we're good to go. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Susan Herman. I'm the president of Condo 2, and I'm also a member of the Palm Greens Community Association. And I'd like to introduce you to Tom Aldrich, sitting in the back, who's the president of the Recreation Association. All right, now I'm really insulted. And he's also a member of the Palm Greens Community Association. And Marilyn, where are you? Marilyn Dietman. There's Marilyn. She is the president of Condo 1 and also a member of the Palm Greens Community Association. Okay, everybody, get it out of you now. You got 20 seconds to hoo-ha and holler, and then you got to please be polite. Okay, all righty. Tonight we have the fire department presenting their proposal to include as part of the development plan, the 13th floor development plan, a fire station. Okay. We have with us, we have the fire chief, Reginald Duran. Don't you think he's a little short? We have the deputy chief, Doug McLinn. And the other deputy chief, Dan Millstone. We have the district chief, Tony Tosi. We have their executive assistant, Jill Gregory. And then is Audrey here? Yeah. Okay, we have Audrey Wolf. She's the director of facilities and infrastructure for the county. And we also have Ross Hearing, who is the Director of Property and Real Estate for the county. Okay. And before I ask them to come up and speak, I just want to reintroduce to everybody Mike Nunziata from 13th floor. Is it something I said? Yes. Okay. And we have Dan Daly also from 13th floor. Okay. With no further ado, I'm going to have the fire department come up and give us their presentation.
I'll take my heels off later. Good afternoon, everyone. It's clear to us this is a very important topic to you all. It's very important to us, and that's one of the things we want to present to you is, from our perspective, the relevance of this project and kind of let you know the service levels that we stand by, address the issues concerning demands of the community, and most of all, give you the quality of service that you deserve. So with that, I want to introduce Chief McGlynn.
So I was told everyone got free movie tickets if they signed up to come to tonight's meeting. Is that true? No? Okay. Okay, so my name is Doug McGlynn. I'm a Deputy Chief of Operations. I oversee the operations for Palm Beach County Fire Rescue, which includes 49 fire stations from Jupiter to Boca, from Manalapan to Lake Okeechobee. So, but make no mistake, we're just going to share some information to you all. Some of it you might know already, so it might seem a little redundant, but and then there's going to be times where we might repeat things is because it's important. But our position here, the fire department, is to share information about the vital why. Okay, we know the what, that's a fire rescue facility, but the why, and why the location and the proximity to life-saving services is so vitally important to the community. So that's our position here. There's going to be obviously quite a few people here presenting, but the hat that we wear is about life safety, and that's the part that we bring to the table. So, and of course, Susan, I think there's going to be time for some Q&A afterwards. But we got a little fire rescue, a little PowerPoint presentation. We'll let you know that there's a motto: Palm Beach County Fire Rescue, when seconds count, you can count on us. And it's not just a cheesy little bumper sticker. We really live by that. Matter of fact, the way that we look at our fire rescue facilities and our planning and forecasting is we look at the time it takes to get those services to your doorstep. Anybody here from the Northeast, or do we all go back home? Okay, I got some paisans in the room. Okay, my dad was a New York City police officer, and when he got injured on the job after 19 years, he brought his family with the police pension, right? He brought it down here to Florida in 1988. I love South Florida. I love it. I just came back from Oklahoma. We were helping them with a incident management team, went down there to help them with the floods and getting through their management. Thank you. And one of the things they kept looking at me, they're like, the guy from the Bronx. Yeah. That's a South Florida accent. So, but one of the things that I was reminded, because we were talking about services, and there's a lot of volunteerism when it comes to fire rescue services in that central part of the country. And one of the things is I was reminded when I grew up in Long Island, we would hear those raid sounds, remember those? Big, loud, and, I lived in a little Cape Cod, so we didn't have any air conditioning. So the windows was always open, and I always heard that loud sound. And that meant the volunteer firefighters would hear that loud siren, then they would race down to the station, you'd hear all the sirens, and then they'd get into the apparatus, and then they would begin going on the call. That's not what we have here. Palm Beach County Fire Rescue has a 24-hour operation, 24/7, 365. The second that we get the call, we begin the response mode. We don't listen for a siren outside blaring throughout the community. We immediately go from where we are, whether it's the shower or whether you got a sandwich at the dinner table. We stop what we're doing, we walk outside, and we get into that truck and we start moving. So sometimes we have to get dressed because we don't want to offend anyone when we show up on scene, right? It's important that we do get dressed because here in Florida, we're 3 in 1. We're emergency medical technicians, we're firefighters, we're paramedics, we're 3 in 1. We also do the trauma hawk, okay, the aeromedical transport. So we have trauma nurses, so we have flight nurses. So we have a lot of hats, and we combine a lot of things. After 9/11, Okay, one of the main things is they said they wanted a seamless communication system, but they also wanted coordination between the medical and the fire. They wanted to get everyone on the common operating picture. So one of the things they did was they took Brooklyn or New York EMS throughout the 5 boroughs and they gave them all FDNY coats, but they're not the same. You have medical personnel, you have firefighter personnel. Here in Palm Beach County, we're all medical and we're fire. We do car wrecks, we do jaws of life, we do medical, we take you to the hospital, we do hazmat, we do dive rescue, we do rope. So we do a lot of things, but we do it with the same person. So when you see a big red truck and a small red truck outside, it's because they're all firefighter, paramedics, and medical technicians. It's very important that we remember that as we go on throughout the presentation. That's a vitally important detail. So when seconds count, it really does count to make sure that we're getting those services to your doorstep. So, when we talk about the standard response time in the Palm Beach County's comprehensive emergency management plan, there's a standard, and it's 7 minutes and 30 seconds. That's from the moment that the 911 call is being initiated. Then there's some call handling time from the dispatcher. What is your emergency? What is your location? They're trying to get the best, most appropriate resource to your address. And a lot of times, if you've ever listened on the YouTube or on the internet, sometimes these 911 calls, they're not as simple as this communication that's happening right now. It's very stressful. There's people screaming. So they do a very good job. Matter of fact, we have 140,000 911 calls that we handle. We have over 200,000 calls that the dispatchers handle every year. Unbelievable. Just a phenomenal job. They get all sorts of awards for what they do. So when that 911 call comes through, they find the most appropriate fire rescue facility, and then they go ahead and tone out the call, and then the call, those tones go out inside the building. They get a little pager goes off on their belt, and they get moving. Once they get moving, they have X amount of time to get to the location. And that is the part that we can do. We can't increase the time on the road. We're not going to go racing through the streets. That's dangerous. But we can kind of race to the truck. And that's what we always, that's something that we always pride ourselves in, is we always race to the truck to get to the truck, because racing through the community is really not going to be an option. We have to make sure that we're maintaining community safety on the roadway. That'll parlay into a little bit. So although the standard is 7 minutes and 30 seconds, I'm happy to say that it's over a minute shot lower than that county average. And we're always looking to improve our emergency response times. Okay, so we talked about seconds, okay? So I just want to make sure that everyone realizes that when we talk about heart attacks or carbon monoxide, which, by the way, is something that happens at a higher percentage in this portion of the county, carbon monoxide poisoning, whether it be from generators or exhaust or cars running in the garage, that happens a lot here in the South County. But whether it's vehicle accidents or strokes or drownings, I know, it's not the most glorious part of the job, but it's reality. This is the reason why we have these life-saving services. The highest level of medical care that you will experience in the pre-hospital environment will be a firefighter paramedic on scene. There's no better system in the country than a fire-based EMS system pre-hospital. Pre-hospital. The highest level of medical authority in the pre-hospital setting is a paramedic. So make no mistake about it. The level of medical treatment that is being delivered is just absolutely phenomenal. And there's systems that rate that, by the way, throughout the country. And I'm happy to tell you that Palm Beach County Fire Rescue has some of the highest life-saving standards and results. And we measure that, by the way. We measure that just like you measure anything else. One of the units of measurement is called ROSC, Return of Spontaneous Circulation. So if someone is not breathing, we give them CPR. We do a lot of life-saving interventions. And then our hope is that they return their own pulse. It's called ROSC, Return of Spontaneous Circulation. Our ROSC rates were in the teens. Nationwide, it's in the teens, 13%, 14%, 15%. We consistently raise our medical protocols under the direction of a medical doctor, and our paramedics are raising that to 20%, 30%. It's just unbelievable what we're doing here just in the last 3 to 5 years. So a lot of that parlays into stroke. A lot of people don't realize that stroke, although it's the number 5 killer for all U.S. adults, okay, it's actually the number 1 cause of disability. See, in our mission statement for Palm Beach County Fire Rescue, it's not just about saving lives and property. It's about preserving and maintaining and enhancing the quality of those lives. Okay? So although you might have, someone might have a stroke, and they survive, but what is their quality of life truly? Do they actually get back from the rehab center when they have to rehabilitate? Do they have that same level and quality of life that they had pre-incident? So that's something that we really look at. We pride ourselves on that. That's the reason why we took this oath. Not to just save lives and property. That's fun. We like to do that. But preserving, enhancing. We're the custodians of the quality of the life of the community. We absolutely do not, we take that very seriously. So when we're talking about that tonight, I want you to remember that we're the custodians of the quality of the life, whether it's pre-incident or post-incident, whether it's preventative, but with teaching, whether it's teaching you CPR or giving you about fire safety or not letting you put too many chairs in front of the exits, it's always about that. That's the hat we wear, and we take it very seriously. If you could just click back one more second. I know it says 1 million brain cells. The scientific term is called neurons. When a heart attack is not the same as a cardiac arrest, okay? A heart attack is when the heart muscle, which is the pump of the body, is not getting oxygenated blood or oxygen-rich blood, okay? And what happens to the muscle is it hurts, and it actually causes pain. That's chest pain. That's usually the sign of a heart attack. The brain has a similar thing. When the brain does not get oxygen-rich blood, maybe because something plugged, maybe there's an artery or piece of plumbing that got clogged, okay? When that happens, the brain can only take that for a very short amount of time. The heart, a little bit more resilient. The brain, not so much. So stroke is a very serious thing. So when we talk about when the brain tissue is not getting oxygen-rich blood, there's only a short window of opportunity that we need to act. Comprehensive stroke centers are throughout Palm Beach County. We have one right down here at Delray. 20 minutes is the time that they want us to be able to get that emergency, get you over to the lab where they're actually being able to do some type of an intervention and get rid of that clog. I'll call it a clogged artery, okay? 20 minutes. Time is brain, and brain is life. 1 million brain cells a minute. That's equivalent to 8 weeks of life. Think about that. Brain tissue is time. And if you lose those brain cells, then that's basically taking a month off your life. And it's not just a month, it's the quality of that life. So I really want to keep alluding to that as we go on. Cardiac arrest, we talked about the chance of survival. I was talking to, where's Joe? I was talking to Joe before before the show, right? They had a stage here. I thought I was going to have to do a tap dance. But when we talk about CPR, when was the last time anyone got trained in CPR? Only a few hands. First of all, I commend you for doing that. Did you guys know that we no longer do mouth-to-mouth? Did you know that? Okay, we know that. We do hands-only CPR now. We do compressions only. It's not always the easiest thing to do. I understand. You really have to push down very hard. I know you have to get on your knees, and I know it's not the easiest thing to do. The next best thing is to make sure that you have a life-saving crew that can get there in a time frame that's going to be able to bring your loved one back. That's it. If it just takes too much time, then the outflow, and it says right there, 7 to 10% is the decrease when we don't have that intervention. Our medical director, Dr. Shefke, he shares this. He says, here's one stat. It's 100% of the people that walk out of the hospital, 100% of the people that walk out of the hospital that had a cardiac arrest had bystander CPR. 100%. Think about that. We are looking forward to someday being your local fire station right here in the community. And I'll let you know what we do in the communities that we serve when we have that intimate bond. We're going to teach hands-only CPR, and we're going to make sure that the education is more enhanced. It's very important that we understand that hands-only CPR is definitely a lifesaver. You can learn it anyway. And after this, now that I see that we have a community that's very engaged, I love community engagement. This is a community that is vital and healthy. Sometimes we do these things and there's 10 people in the audience, not this audience. So I want to make sure that we're still extending that to you when we're done here. Okay, I think we're going to turn. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the situation here with the lot, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the dynamics of the particular response time and how we look at that thing and how that falls into our plans. So I'm going to introduce Jill Gregory, the Executive Assistant to the Fire Chief. Jill Gregory.
Sorry, I won't be as energetic as Chief McGlynn, but I'll just state the facts. So this map up here shows the area and shows the existing fire rescue facilities. So we have Station 44. Station 44 is located at Flavor Pick and Jog, just west of Jog. We have Station 42. It's located at Hagen Ranch, south of Lake Ida. Station 45 is located at Kings Point off of Jog, south of Atlantic. And the green star is the potential civic site. The purple boxes in the map show specific areas where we are not consistently meeting our response time standard. So some of the reasons why we don't meet our response time standards in this area is due to road congestion, poor accessibility to some of the communities, and simultaneous calls. That's because there's a large call volume in this area. And there's need for stations to be placed closer together because of the density. In the blue hatched area, there are over 12,600 calls a year in this area. That's over 34 calls a day. This next map shows the yellow dots are all the calls within a year. We can reduce the number of responses that do not meet our standard by adding an additional station in this area. But the fire rescue facility needs to be in just the right location. Having a site on the south side of your development is the perfect location. It is just off the main thoroughfares. We have ability to travel east and west on Lake Ida Road. We have the ability to travel north-south on Eau Claire Ranch Road. And the 4 stations here, if you put the additional station, it kind of makes a diamond with all the stations equal a distance apart. The green box area would be that station's first due area if it were to open. If it were to open today, there'd be 3,200 calls a year within this area, or 9 calls a day. 34% of those calls are over our response time standard. This fire rescue facility would open the majority of the calls, and the first due area would have a response time of 5.5 minutes. And it would also impact all the surrounding area because those stations are all really, really busy, and they have simultaneous calls going on at the same time, so it could back up the other stations when 2 calls come in at the same time. Sorry, I'm kind of off track. So how does this station affect your community? How does it benefit your community? Because it is a benefit to it. So this maps your community. The red area, the northern box of the red box is served by Station 44, and the southern box is served by Station 42. I have given the presentation to somebody back there, and I'll give it to somebody else too, if people need copies. Excuse me?
It will be on the website.
Okay. So within your community, last year, there was 366 calls. 336 of them were medical emergencies, or 92%. Your average response time was just under 8 minutes, and 55% of your calls were over the standard. This proposed station will create a dramatic improvement in response times within your community and within the surrounding area. Your entire community would experience a response time of 5.5 minutes or less. Chief, do you have any other benefits that you want to address to the?
So the reason why is because from the entrance to the most remote portion, okay, of the community is 1.5 miles. And that's the reason why, is 1.5 miles. Is 1.5, a little less actually. So, and the ISO is Insurance Services Organization. Office, not organization. Insurance Services Office. And they actually are the ones that come up with the standardized response time when it comes to the road travels. It's not as the crow flies when we're talking about distances. We're talking about road travel times. So in those road travel times, there's a half a mile a minute. So if you look at a half a mile a minute, you could see why, if the fire station, if the fire rescue facility was here, you could see why that would drastically drop the response times. When we were talking about the cardiac arrest, the cardiac arrest scenario about having those vital services, it's this area of the southern portion of the county is not like other areas in the county. Okay, the call volume in this particular area is very high. So you can't have a fire rescue facility every mile and a half, but you get to have one a mile and a half away. So I just wanted to make sure that this is not the standard throughout the county, but in the southern portion of the county, when these fire rescue facilities were mapped out, the call load and the population load, it was not the same as it is today. That's why if this facility went in today, it would already meet its requirement. And some fire rescue organizations, not ours, okay, will put a fire rescue facility somewhere, and then they'll grab the person from here, and they'll grab a person from there. I was talking to Joe earlier, right before the show, and he said, hey, you're not going to put a building up and not put people inside of it. I said, no, absolutely not. We're going to put people inside. And some of the facilities, they'll put maybe just put the rescue truck. That's medical emergencies, right? 366 calls, 92% of them are medical. Shy from 30 calls, all the calls in this community have been medical in nature. But that doesn't mean the ambulance or the smaller truck can handle that on their own. Is because we put a lot of people on the call very quickly. A lot of people, high training, very quickly. We call it PIC crew CPR. We have positions, and we're teaching that throughout the state, by the way. So it's not just one truck. You'll have two trucks handling one patient. So it's very important that we remind ourselves, yeah, it's 92% medical. It's 1.5 miles away. We're talking about a dramatic improvement to the rescue profile of the community when we're talking about things like that. So you had your hand up. Are we allowed to do that, Susan? There was a hand up? We will not forget you. We will not forget you with the hand up. So we'll take care of that later. All right, details on the site. We're going to bring, so our facilities and development director, and his specialty is actually the land acquisition end of the field. This is Ross Herring. Here you go.
So we spent a bunch of time so far talking about the need for the station. Excuse me. We spent a bunch of time so far talking about the need for the station and the response times and why this community is right in the middle of the proposed service area. All those dots showed you that this community is right in the center of the radius for our required service delivery. So we took a look at the available sites, the undeveloped sites and places where potentially we could place a fire station. And the map here shows the green star is where the proposed civic site, the fire rescue station would be within your community.
Please hold your comments and questions and please listen.
Can you get the street address? The Lake Ida and Via. And can we scan back? Search area and the vacant undeveloped parcels that could be available to one of these undeveloped properties left facility. It's not for sale. The price is very high. Congregate living facility. It's a basically assisted living. So the next site is there's 4 residential parcels. While there are for sale signs up there now, it's very difficult to negotiate with 4 separate owners. Again, we anticipate that the price would be very high. The other site was approved for a senior living facility, and it's $3 million as well. Let me go back to the 4 residential parcels. You can see that they're on the curve of the road, and that presents a safety hazard for the fire rescue vehicles exiting the property. And then the last site is up in the far right corner. That's currently being farmed, and we've been trying to get through to the property owner, and they've been avoiding our letters and calls, so there's been absolutely no response. So again, within that search radius, the green star is right in the center, and those other parcels, we do not believe that we could acquire those for development of the fire station. So how we got to this site in terms of our discussions with 13th Floor was they are coming through the development approval process currently. All new developments are required to give a civic site to the county based on 2% of their land area. In this case, that equates to roughly 2.3 acres of civic obligation. Whenever we need a fire rescue station, a library, a sheriff's substation, and some developer is coming through the process seeking to develop their land, we can require 2% of their land area to be set aside for civic uses. In this case, fire rescue is our civic use. So we approached the developer and said, we would like you to give us the required civic site. And understand that those discussions with the developer took place long after you'd been working with 13th Floor. But where we're at today is Palm Beach County Fire Rescue needs a site. We don't have other reasonable options for development of that site. It's very important that we have a site and we get a facility here so that we can assist with improving the response times. And essentially how we came to focus on this site. Where are we now?
What's that?
Where next? Okay, turn it back over to Fire Rescue.
Thank you, Ross. Okay. So, if we were going to move into the area, what kind of neighbor would we be? Gee whiz, I thought we established a little rapport here. All right. Well, let me remind you what hat I wear. Okay? Well, thank you, ma'am. We are actually friendly neighbors, and we have 49 fire stations throughout this county, and I want to let you know they've been here for decades. So you don't just become a friendly neighbor. You have to have the testaments and the testimonies of your neighbors. Really, that's what it's all about. And that doesn't happen by accident. We're extremely considerate not just considerate when we live there. Of course we are. Okay, there's all sorts of things that we do. We have shift change that actually happens at a relatively early period, 7:30 in the morning. You think that we can have that in and out of communities for decades and not have any complaints? We're very mindful of that. We're here to serve the community. That is the mindset of a civil servant. And at the end of the day, that's what we are. We're public servants. So we're not going to start the beginning of our day, okay, and sit there and not have consideration for the community. We're very aware of that. Just like, when, I have a 14-year-old and a 17-year-old now, but when they were small, we had to make sure that we were quiet. We didn't wake the babies and things like that. We're very considerate of the noise. We're very considerate of trucks. We're very considerate of sirens. We're very considerate of eyesores, okay? So there's a lot of planning, a lot of consideration, a lot of time, energy, planning, dollars that goes into our fire rescue facilities. They're gorgeous. I'm not sure, has anyone, by a show of hands, been at one of our fire rescue facilities on a tour? Seriously, I can count, and I'm counting the firefighters, I can count maybe 10 hands. They're gorgeous, okay? There's a reason why that flanked little triangle doesn't have a lot going on the right-hand side of the screen, because there's a city there. And we don't have the city. There's a municipal boundary there, okay? In the beginning, that actually was laid out pretty nicely. But as more and more people moved in the community, and the population was more on the senior side, which generates by quota more 911 calls, the population, the increase in the calls, that is not doing it. That little triangle is not cutting it. We need one in the middle now. So that's the area, okay? So who owns the land that we want? Well, right now we're talking about Delray Trails, and we're talking about the developer having an obligation to provide and set aside a percentage of land, and that's nothing new. I mean, that's just what it is. It is what it is. Who owns the land? Yeah, no, don't get me in trouble, Susan, because she'll, yeah. She promises cookies at the end of this. So she'll every time I do that, she takes a chocolate chip and oatmeal away. So that's basically, are we friendly neighbors? We have 49 stations, trust me. We put a lot of time and energy, and we're going to show you some of the efforts that we do when we put it into our stations. We are designed to blend in. I'm going to show you photos. If you go up to Jupiter, they have right there Burt Reynolds Boat Ramp Park. We have a Key West style with lanterns and a metal roof. Looks beautiful. Who cares about that? But Jupiter, guess what? They care. In Jupiter, they care what it looks like. Down here in Delray, we go with the S-tile, the terracotta. It's important that it blends in with the community. So, yeah. Do we care about Jupiter? Jupiter cares about Jupiter. Delray cares about Delray. Boynton cares about Boynton. And guess what? We care about them all. So it's very important. That's why our local fire chief is here. The chief of our organization is here, but Tony Tozzi is the local fire chief. He's in charge of the Boynton-Delray area. He came up through the ranks. He was a captain. Matter of fact, he opened the last fire station that was here, right here on Flavor Picked. And why do I share that with you? Because I'm not just showing you a bunch of people with ties and fancy costume jewelry. I'm telling you, the people that ran the calls and opened up these stations and lived in the community, they served in the community, they really know what they're talking about. They're not just some fancy guy with a New York accent. Extended buffers. We're going to show you some pictures. We don't just plop a fire station. We don't cram them in like we crammed in the room here, shoulder to shoulder. That's not how we do it. And if you look at a lot of like in the community where I live, I only have a quarter acre. They just line them all up. That's not the way we do it, and we're going to show you some pictures. We're very involved in the community, obviously. Yeah, we can move forward. This is a picture of our fire station right here at Woolbright and Military Trail. It's Station 41, which is a Boynton-Delray. By the way, in this area, Boynton-Delray, it's Battalion 4. All the stations except for one actually start with a 4. We're running out of numbers because we have so big battalions because of the population. So that is a beautiful picture of Station 41. It is, I'm going to show you another picture how close it is to the proximity of the wall. It is absolutely nestled into the gorgeous community of Indian Springs. And I'll challenge you to find that station in the bottom half of the picture. It's in there somewhere. Can anyone find it? Yeah, it's in Indian Springs. We could find it, yeah, because you could see there's not a lot of terracotta roofs surrounding it. But yeah, but it's designed to blend in, and that's what that picture was all about. And it's right down the road. Next one is, okay, that's an aerial shot. that is basically a little bit more of a rectangular lot. Obviously, the civic site that is that we're talking about here in Delray Trails is a lot more accommodating than this one, but you can see that this one is right down the road. It's actually 13 feet to the backyard of Indian Springs. Now, we're not going to be putting it 13 feet from anyone's property, but this particular station is actually very, very tight, and it's right off Military Trail. Yeah, we'll go to the next one. All right, this one is Station 56. Okay, this is in the West Boca area off Southwest 18th. You can see that we've nestled that, and I'm going to have Chief Tazi also going to help me. We're going to go through some slides on the firehouses. But you can see that we don't just plop a firehouse face the street and game over. We're very considerate about the way the layout is, where the trucks will be pulling in, where those headlights might be pointing. We look at everything. We also look at the landscape buffering. We don't just put a bunch of puny little plant stuff. We actually stage a maturity level of shrubbery, bushes, and trees based on the community side. We put the operational side of the building, we put on the street side. We put the non-operational aspect of the building, we have that flank the community side. We do all these things, and probably it would be very unsuspecting. You would never know it, but that's the idea. And that's the reason why we haven't had one single complaint from community about the neighbor. We're good neighbors. We're actually not good neighbors. We're great neighbors. We're great neighbors. But it's not by accident. It's by design. This one's right across the street. As you know, it's right down not across the street. It's right down the road, Flavor Picked. And Green K is right across the street. Again, just showing you, obviously the footprint that we take up is a lot of buffering. We're not here putting, cramming the station in there. And it's also designed to be, to fall into the community and to look pretty, look picturesque. Shouldn't be an eyesore. Matter of fact, you can actually drive right past and go, wait, what is that? That's a fire rescue facility. Hagen Ranch actually was built in 1984. Our Palm Beach County Fire Rescue was merged. They took 10 separate fire departments in 1984 and merged them together. Right prior to that merger, Del Trail was the fire district that ran this area, and that Station 42 was designed to be that. It was also designed to, it was servicing the whole area, but it also served as our recruit academy. So for decades, we actually trained all of our firefighters there. So that's a major headquarters. Our headquarters stations do look a little differently, but Station 42, I heard someone say Hagen Ranch. That's why that looks a little differently. But those aren't the stations that we're putting inside the communities. So next one. Station 20, are you going to come up here, Chief Tony? Chief Tony actually lives, this one's in Wellington, so I don't want to steal all the thunder. He actually lives in this neighborhood, and they better be good neighbors there, because otherwise his neighbors will be looking right at him.
I got nothing left to say. As Chief McGlynn said, this is actually in my neighborhood. My children have gone by there, visit the fire trucks, as many others. Unique piece of property, as right behind it, we have multi-million-dollar homes. Paddock Park, I don't know if any of you are familiar with it. Very exclusive area. They don't know we're even there. We have neighbors come by all the time to get blood pressures, have a cup of coffee. It's like, don't you ever have any emergencies in here? Well, of course we do. We don't hear anything. So we're very proud. Like Chief McGlynn mentioned, we are very friendly to the community. And we serve multi-purposes with the stations that we have there. Like I said, you come by for your blood pressures. The kids come by on field trips. We really enjoy it a lot. Right across the street, we have Landings Middle School. Again, we participate in a lot of their events and have them over quite often. And just to the south and the north is a bedroom community, Sugar Pond Manor, which is where I live. I can't afford the bigger homes. But it truly is a wonderful area. And the fire stations, I mean, they are just beautiful.
Okay. If you just go back to that one picture, I just want to talk to you a little bit about setbacks. So the reason why it's set back, the fire station is set back from the road, we call that a transition of right-of-way. So when a fire rescue vehicle pulls out of the garage, we'll call it the apparatus bay, but we'll call it the garage. When they pull out, they put their lights on, and they actually go down the driveway, which is telling the community, and by the way, we don't line up our shrubbery along our driveways, okay? We don't do that like some of the commercial properties, and you pull out the Publix, you can't even figure out who's coming and who's not. We don't line our shrubbery up along the driveway, and we do that because we want to transition into the right-of-way. It's a very safe, peaceful transition, and really, you can do that in such a way where you don't have to lay on the horns. You go to Okeechobee Boulevard, we have one of our stations, and with all that traffic coming by, you're going to need to put a signal there, we're going to need to put the sirens on. We're talking about in the community. This basically is what Chief Tazi was just talking about. You got $1 million homes to the flank, to the backyard, and we got a nice setback driveway so that you can put your lights on, you have a nice transition into the right-of-way, and right into the community, because I heard someone say about sirens, you're not going to see that. You're going to have the same scenario here that you have here. And it's not done by accident. It's done by design. So that's another element of the building design and the way the fire station is situated. It's not like FDNY where you got a little lane, you got a back, beep, 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 beep. You don't ever hear any backup signs, backup alarms in a Palm Beach County Fire Rescue Facility because we have drive-through bays. We don't even like backing up our trucks. Okay? We're designed to come in on the side entrance and we drive through the bay and we shut the truck off. So those things are all going into the elements of the design. This one is, well, it's important because it's the same design and the same consideration that we would be looking at because that's the way that we situate our, so it actually is very important that we share that. This is this is off Lyons Road. Okay? Everybody knows Lyons Road is kind of a busy road, right? Well, Lyons Road is right here. Okay? Lyons Road is also in the nearby. And Eau Claire Ranch Road is probably not as busy, but pretty busy. Lake Ida, pretty busy. Very busy. We put a roundabout out there. Trust me, it's busy. Okay? So by not having the fire rescue facility flanked, it would be very easy to take that building and just turn it. Take the building, turn it, face the driveway to Lyons Road, and be done with it. Okay? But the reason why we do it this way is so that we can have a nice transition into the roadway. When you're coming out from the property onto the busy road, we got to stop the traffic, folks. We're pulling out, and we have to stop the traffic. So in this particular case, you would pull out right into a transition of a right-of-way. There's a roundabout at the entrance to the community, but this is not a high-traffic where the fire station would be pulling right out. The slide that Ross showed you earlier, there were other examples out there that you would have to pull out directly into the traffic. And look, we're not sure it's not safe for the firefighters, but it's not safe for the firefighters. I'm in a fire truck. I'm way up here. It's not safe to the community. All you need is 3 or 4 cars abruptly stopping short because they didn't see the thing because it came around the bend and there's a fire truck. And what happens is brake lights, and you get rear-end accidents. So that's just the way. That's the reason why we try not to pile up our driveways, our fire rescue facility driveways, right on the major road. So that's just an example of how we did that in Boca.
People listen patiently. When are you going to listen to our
Okay. Why don't we do this? Why don't we do this? We shared some information. I'm going to turn it back over to Susan. Hey, how are you, Susan? Very nice. Okay, thank you very much. We're obviously here. We'll answer questions as we can.
Thank you very much. Okay, sorry that I was so rude during the presentation, but I was really trying to be polite, and we'll have time now to ask questions. Okay, I just want to again tell you I have a sign-in sheet. If you do want to speak, you have to come and let me know because I'm going to go by the sign-up sheet. Also, when you came in and you signed up, you also had to indicate, you were asked to indicate whether you supported or you opposed the fire station. That was our survey with you coming in here. On the way out the door, we're going to do a poll and we're going to ask you again. So please do not run out of here. We will have people out there asking you to sign the form and indicate what your position is. Okay, with that, I'm going to first call on Jill Rothman.
First of all, on behalf of the unit owners of Palm Greens, thank you for your presentation. It was informative. We heard a lot about the benefits and how you could be friendly to the community. I've lived in Palm Greens for 18 years, And during that time, I have seen the growth in this area. Although I don't dispute the need for additional fire rescue facilities, we hope that you will understand the impact that placing a fire station within our community will have. For almost 3 years, our community has negotiated with 13th Floor on a plan to develop the golf course. A plan was finally developed and overwhelmingly approved by the owners of Palm Greens. The plan ensures us an adult community with only 436 units, and additionally will be provided not only with new recreation facilities, but will receive a very, very much needed financial infusion to repair our deteriorating, aging infrastructure. If this plan is changed by the addition of a fire rescue station, it will have to be sent out to all of the unit owners for a new vote. It's doubtful that getting a majority response of 1,400 owners could be done in a timely manner. Additionally, based on the sentiment of those currently in the community, a new vote would probably be a futile effort. As a result, we risk losing the entire agreement with 13th Floor. If we lose this plan, our future becomes uncertain, as it would be years before another developer comes in, and we would probably have absolutely no say over what they would do in their development plan. Losing this development would not only have a major quality of life impact on us, but a tremendous financial impact on our community. Also, because of the delay in possibly a new developer coming in, it would postpone receipt of new tax revenues for the county. We implore you to please consider our needs and concerns in evaluating your planned location of the fire station. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill.
My name is Leonard Canerick, and I live in Court A. I live in Court A. I recently took my car to check out where the nearest fire stations are. One fire station is on Hagen Ranch near the public library, which is less than 3 miles away. The other fire station is on Lake Ida at Barwick, which is about 1.25 miles. Why they need a fire station here, I have no idea. With the response times, as they say, they could get here from Barwick and Lake Ida in 3 minutes. Much under what they say. Another thing, why can't they just expand the fire stations that they have and put in more vehicles there?
Doug?
Yeah. Well, I know you already heard from me quite a few times, but it's travel. It's travel. We don't want to put more resources in a building that's further away because it's going to take that much time to get here. It doesn't take 3 minutes to get here. It takes 7 minutes, 8 minutes. So what we'll do is, but again, I just want to remind you, this is the hat I wear. I'm only going to talk facts. I'm only going to talk facts. The majority of the calls to this area are greater than the county average, which is 7 minutes, 7.5 minutes. Some of the calls are 8.5 to 9 minutes. So there was a slide over here that had all the percentages of your, survivability. We took it out because I'm not here to shock. This is not shock and awe. It just takes longer to get here. That's the reason why we don't stockpile resources down the road, because we need resources here where the call volume is. Thank you.
Okay. If you're not on the list, I'm going by the list, okay? If you want to have me, the list is right up here. Come see me when the next person's speaking. Paul?
Santa Stefano's name. If you checked off Santa Stefano's name, she wants to speak.
Okay, Santa.
Thank you. Good afternoon, or good evening, everybody. I share the concern about the impact on our community. I share the concern about the impact on our community of losing the entire development plan. I, however, oppose a fire rescue station being placed within our community, period. I believe it is a serious safety hazard. I live in Condo 1, drive by the area where the fire station would be built daily, if not several times a day. The road is narrow and curvy. There are always people walking, running, and cycling. Also, some using their earbuds, walkers, and electric carts. That would be a serious problem for trucks running around while they're doing their daily routine. Once out of the condominiums, the truck would have to navigate the traffic circle on Lake Ida. The circle already poses a huge problem for our senior community and will become even a greater problem with the increased population from the addition of Delray Trails. In the past, our community has challenged the use of that traffic circle on Lake Ida. Our condo leadership has told us that they were assured by the county that a traffic circle was much safer than a traffic light, that a traffic circle controls the flow of traffic, and the speed in turn reduces not only the number of accidents, but the severity of accidents. Now we hear rumors that the traffic circle will be changed back to a traffic light if a fire rescue station is built. I find it concerning that the county would be willing to jeopardize our safety by now agreeing to eliminate the traffic circle after maintaining it with such a safety feature. To conclude, I thank you for your presentation. I appreciate that you would do everything possible to be good neighbors, but I strongly oppose a fire rescue station being in the middle of our community.
Frank Marcius. Frank?
My name is Frank Macias. Brother, thank you. I'm a retired firefighter myself after 27 years. And I take my hat off. I have lived around in the firehouse. So, as the brothers know, there's a lot of people in here that just haven't experienced, and that's a big thanks. I am new to the community. I just moved out here 14 months ago. And myself, I've been a first responder on 2 occasions in the Green Palms. Palm Greens.
Palm Greens.
I don't even really know the name. But
He's really green.
Really green. Anyway, I just want to say that I've been on both sides of it, like I said, and I understand your guys' concern about noise and lights and the traffic. As a former firefighter, we take very, very care of our own. I mean, we're just like you guys. We, like the chief said, we don't come out of there zooming. We don't come out pointing our lights on. We respect the community, number one. That's the first thing they tell us. We go out to the streets, and, you know, it's hard to explain because unless you are in our shoes in the department, you'll understand. The time that we have from the truck is the most important minutes of your life. And that's what counts. We don't build fire departments just because we want to put them there. We build them because you need them. And you need them because the age, let's wake up. Our ages here, We need a fire department here. We really do. The response. We do.
Okay, wait. Everyone,
let me
please
finish.
be polite.
Let me
him
finish. Let me finish. If you can walk my shoes or any of these firemen here, my brethrens, then you can tell us what we have and what we can't do. But every day in our life, we're out there trying to make it comfortable for everybody to get. We give it all, and all we ask for is just it's everything for everybody here. It really is.
Thank you.
I'm done,
Thank you for
okay?
your service. And just a reminder, it's your brothers and sisters. We have a lot of people who want to ask questions, so try to keep it succinct and fast and flowing. Okay, Tertsta.
Yeah, all right. I strongly disagree with having the fire department build the three acres of land used for the fire department. Why can you not build it across the street? Why not that land over there? And this seems to be, for me, kind of backdoor. Why did we not know about this before? And then there's a financial ramification for us. It reduces, if you take... Yeah, I mean, yeah. So, and then there's this financial ramification. We're going to lose revenue if you take away 3 acres away from the housing development. We have one understanding, and that's what we voted on, the 14 unit owners. Do you know how much time and effort it took the people who negotiated, the things that we don't even know, they made it look easy? It took time and effort. We cannot duplicate that again. We will lose. That's my comment.
Okay. Again, I beg you to please be polite. The question was raised about when everybody knew about this. We knew about 3-4 weeks ago, and I'll tell you why you didn't know right away. Okay? What we did was we tried to figure out what the issue was. Whether this was something that was serious and moving forward. Pardon me? You should have told us sooner. Hey, all right, listen. Please listen to me. We did not want to create a problem if it was just something, that was not going to happen. So we sat down with the county and we found out that, yes, it was a legitimate situation. We then went back and immediately wrote the letter to the community. And nobody knew about this until the application was submitted to the county. Doug even mentioned that. They couldn't submit the application to the county until they had the approval from our community. So this is not something that, we've known about for a long time. We knew about it about 2 weeks before we sent the letter. Okay. I'm still going to go. I got lots of people who want to speak. Oh, would you like to answer the question why you can't build across the street? Huh? Okay, we got to be quiet. They don't.
So earlier when I was discussing the alternate sites, the undeveloped properties within the search radius that we need to serve, I pointed out these various parcels and talked about some of the issues with each of them. Was there a specific parcel that you were questioning?
Yes. The one that you can't find the farmer for. He's not answering your phone calls?
It's the one in the top right corner.
Okay, let's be nice. Thank you, Doug. Thank you.
Tried several times.
Okay. Robbins. Do I have a Robbins in here? I have 5 pages. Wait, I got you, Robbins.
My only question is very simple. I looked at the maps, and I see there are 5, not 2, not 3, but 5 fire stations within 3.8 miles of this location. So, someone brought up the idea, why not add more equipment? That may resolve it. The other part of it is, somebody mentioned the curve on Lake Ida. That property's not going to get developed. That's an ideal location because you can see traffic going either way on that curve, and there's enough land to put in a firehouse there as well. We are desperate to maintain our relationship with 13th floor. The county has a right of eminent domain and also that set-aside, but it's affecting the well-being of over 1,400 houses here and the people who live here who are on retirement. We need the extra revenue. We need to get our infrastructure. What do you propose that will be the compromise?
Would you like to respond? Okay. Okay. Doug, you're on.
I believe this is in response to the question as to what it will do to the relationship with 13th floors. The issue with 13th floors is that they would be willing to convey the civic site to the county. The problem is with the agreement between 13th floor and your community. So if your community were to say that the fire station is acceptable, then there would be no impact on the agreement with 13th floor. So,
You know what? I've been asked to ask 13th floor to come respond, but I just want to make it clear that when we put together the development agreement and what we signed with 13th floor has a provision that if there's any substantial change to the development agreement that you all voted on, that it needed to come back to the community for a vote. And one of the reasons we put that in the agreement was because of situations like this, because this is clearly a substantial change, okay? So before 13th floor can go forward and continue through the whole application process, they need for us to give them approval, okay? We would have to approve the new plan, the plan including the fire station. And now I'm going to call on Michael from the fire station. We would have to approve the plan with the fire station. It would have to come to our community for a vote. That's the agreement between 13th floor and Palm Greens. We have a signed contract. It's basically a contract. It's the development agreement that you all agreed to. Mike. Mike's right here from 13th floor. He's going to answer. Mike is right here.
Let me just try to address some of the questions, and I heard yours. I'm going to get to that in a second. I'm not sure really how much I can add to what Susan described, but the fact of the matter is this is exactly why that we have the agreement that we have with the community. Is so if there are changes, you guys get to see those changes and tell us as to whether or not you like those changes. The way that this process unfolded was before we made our application to Palm Beach County, we wanted to make sure the community was on board with this. And I mean, many people have talked about it, but I mean, this is years that we've been going at this and working with the community. And it would have been unfair for us during that process to say, oh, by the way, there might be a fire station, there might be a civic pod just somewhere in this. It didn't provide enough clarity to the community as to what was ultimately going to happen. But that was something we were aware of, could happen, and the reason that we structured an agreement in the way that we ultimately ended up structuring this agreement. So now you have before you the presentation from Fire Department, from Palm Beach County staff as to what they want to do. Ultimately, if there is a fire station that the county and the fire department want to pursue here, Susan is absolutely correct. It's got to go back to a vote of the community. The community here has to say. Now, you asked the question over there about timing. This is the unfortunate part of this. We've been working at this for a very long time. We have much the same way whenever you purchase a home. You've got a diligence period. You have a closing period. We have to close on this thing relatively soon. And we all know that it took years to get to the point that we had an agreement of this community before we had the overwhelming level of support that we ultimately got here. To get to that same point, we don't have years left in our contract. The amount of time left in our contract is measured in months, and only a few of them. So the concept of getting to that vote, look, if this presentation, and I know, Susan, you want to do like a poll or something after this is all done, if the community, everybody walks out of here and says, heck yeah, we want this, okay, maybe we can do that. We can mobilize, we can send out a bunch of flyers, and we can have a positive vote. But that's all related to what the community thinks about this. If it is, look, I'm going to call spade a spade, right? I'm getting the sense that a lot of people aren't necessarily receptive to the concept of having this within the community here, right? I am not trying to impart and say, I'm just calling it what it is. I think everybody sees the same thing, right? So I'm not trying to force that, but all I'm saying by way of that is this is obviously a much more divisive issue, and it would take time to get through. And frankly, and this is just bottom line, we don't have the time to get through it. So that's where we're at. This is the reason you guys have the protect. September. I don't remember the exact date, but September.
Okay. Cool.
I'm sorry?
I don't know what the question was. All right, I'm going to the next person who will be here all day, Bonnie Robbins, because
First of all, I'd like to thank the fire department for all their service and everything they have done for us, for people in the community, the county, and everything. Thank you so much. You don't get thanked enough. Thank you. I appreciate it. Most of my questions have been answered tonight here, which is really good. However, there is one question, or two questions that were raised. One, if the county is willing to pay money for someone else's property to build a fire station, why can't we, for 13 floors, be compensated at some level? Am I making sense? Land is free to them. Well, there's free land all over the place, okay? So, okay, my question to you is, while my husband and I were walking on Via Flora, and we walk every morning for 5 miles, a car came around the curve, ran in front of us, came across the sidewalk, and ran onto the golf course because they were speeding, okay? I am the quintessential squeaky wheel, okay, and I called the county. And I emailed the county and I said, hey, what can you do for us? This is a very dangerous situation here. There's curves where it's supposed to be 25 miles an hour. People go 40 miles an hour. Assuming, hypothetically, this fire station does come here, what is the county going to do for that street?
Would county staff, anyone from the county want to answer that? No.
The sheriff's office is responsible for monitoring the speeds and the traffic incidents. Okay, excuse me. So you can do that as well as contact PBSO and complain about the traffic enforcement and ask for increased enforcement. I can say that the fire rescue really shouldn't have an impact on those traffic problems that exist today. Fire rescue will just do their operations. There's not that much additional traffic that fire rescue puts on the road.
Doug, they can't hear you.
Unfortunately, there has been, or there is very little sheriff presence there to monitor the traffic at all. It is, I'll tell you, monetarily in terms of tickets, they would make a fortune.
Okay, Via Flora is a private road. So, yeah, it's a private road.
It's our road?
I'm sorry, Via Aurora is a private road.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, okay.
This is Via.
Via Flora. I'm sorry, excuse me. Via Aurora. Okay, I have to go in somewhat of an order here to be fair. Eleanor Horowitz, do you still want to speak?
Good evening. What I just wanted to say is, those some of us are here tonight who live on the corner where all this is going to take place, and some of us have also been the recipient of the services of the fire and emergency services. And we have never had a problem having the services get to us. But when you stand by our courtyard and look out to Via Flora and Lake Ida, which is right there, the street is so narrow coming onto Via Flora there and winding. And then if these trucks are going to be pulling out into where the circle is, lady said it, there are so many accidents, there are so many problems there with the traffic, and we really can't have big trucks on a regular basis in and out of there. It will be a dangerous, horrible thing for everybody over there.
Thank you, Eleanor. Bob?
Just 1 minute. And I was just going to ask also about the piece of land that we were talking about. We couldn't see it from the way they were showing it here. But the piece of land by the blinker light going from the circle to military, if that's the land you're talking about with the farmers that don't want to get in touch with you, if they can take the land from us, why can't they take the land from them?
Sorry. Good evening. First of all, thank you guys for your presentation and thank you for your service. Just like the military and everything else, we appreciate you guys. But thank you. One of the things that really came to my mind was it Paul? Paul? Mike, thank you. When Mike was speaking, was that if we walk out of here tonight and we don't approve the fire station, not that we have much say, I don't believe, but let's say we don't approve the fire station, that keeps the contract intact? No. Absolutely.
First of all, I'll let Mike speak in a minute, but we're not going to make any decision tonight.
Correct. That's the first thing that I wanted to confirm. There's no decision being made tonight. When I said Susan was taking an exit poll, just getting a sense of what people think overall, right? There's two different agreements to reference here. We have a purchase and sale agreement to purchase the property. That's an option agreement. It gave us the years of time that we've been working with to work with the community, coming up with the plan that you've all seen and all approved, right? That's the purchase and sale agreement, and that's the one that we have to close on relatively soon. Separate and apart from that is the agreement that we have with the community. That agreement gives this community a lot of protections. One of those being, we couldn't come in here, show you one plan, and do something different than that plan. And that's fair, and that's something that your community association fought for because they wanted to make sure these guys are going to be honest. They're going to actually fulfill what they showed us they're going to do at this project. So that agreement is the other agreement that's at play here. As far as what happens with these agreements, if the community, you guys, if there is a fire station here, would have to take another vote under the agreement that we have with the Palm Greens Community Association, which specifically says if there is a substantial change to the development program that you've seen, you guys have to take another vote.
So that is a substantial change to the...
Yes.
Susan can
Yes,
answer that one.
absolutely.
And
Yes.
Let me say this, though. If we walk out of here, and we're actually voting for something we really can't vote for, although it does change the contract. But let me finish.
It's not a formal vote today, I'm sorry.
No.
I just want to clarify.
So we walk out of here today, and there's no decisions made, right? It sounded to me like you said, because of time frame, that you're kind of walking away from the deal.
I think the bottom line is after this meeting, we have to evaluate what our options are. We have to talk to the community association, see how we're going to proceed here, see how logistically, if we had to go back to a vote, how quickly that can be done. I was somewhat suggesting the fact that this thing took years to work on. And I know that we are working in a couple months to take another vote. The fact of the matter is getting mail to Canada, those sort of things, they take time. So maybe I'm speculating too much, but I'm not sure that we have time for another vote. I'll sit down with the community association. I'll talk to them. I'll see how logistically we could potentially pull this off. But knowing how much work we had to go through before, it seems like a low probability to me, if nothing else.
Steve Brimberg. I have 5 lists here.
Hi. First of all, I'd like to thank all you firemen. I appreciate your service. We'll get you. I want to bring this in from a little different perspective. I'm on the Condo 1 board, and as a resident, you didn't see it the way the board saw it. When we went to get this vote, it took 2.5 years we worked on this, okay? And we had volunteers. We had people calling people. We had people knocking on doors, okay? I believe that, and also, we were in season. Okay, we probably have 40% of this place not here. Okay, if we had to go through the same process right now, there's no way we would make September. Okay, and we need a a simple majority of 50% yes votes. Okay, on the financial level, this would destroy us. We would lose the $1 million. We would have our infrastructure problems would be multiple millions of dollars for the clubhouse alone. So I can't support this, although it is a good thing, but I can't support it for the community because it would also affect our property values. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Tom?
When we had the meeting with the fire department and the county representatives a few weeks ago, there was a discussion about possibly getting rid of the roundabout on Lake Ida as a means of appeasement, and I've heard nothing about that tonight. And the other thing that was brought up at that time was that 13th floor had offered $450,000 in remuneration to the county in lieu of this pod. And again, that's a considerable amount of money, and it would be a considerable amount of money going to buying one of these properties. As well as the fact that there's plenty of county-owned land already in the area. You could either use some of your own property, buy some property, or expand the existing facilities. The existing facility that's closest to Palm Greens is 1.3 miles from the north end of Condo 2. The proposed location is 1.3 miles from the north end of Condo 2. I don't see that we're getting much out of this.
Okay, I'm back on track. Rhoda Mistikoff.
Good evening. I would again like to thank the fire department. You made a beautiful presentation, and we don't have any objections to your landscaping or the way you have made your place so beautiful. We're glad. We're glad you're happy. But we are not interested in that, to say the very least. My question is, when did you decide to do that? After our 13th floor put in their requests for permits? Is that when you decided to do this? How come nobody heard about this before?
Thank you, Rhoda. I thought I had answered the question before, and I'm sorry if I wasn't clear enough. It was not brought to our attention until after. Oh, when the fire people knew about it? When did you, the fire department, know that you were going to look at this property? I mean, was this property brought to your attention before 13th Floor submitted their proposal?
We're continually assessing our response time, so it's I apologize, I'll speak up. We're continually looking for properties and communities where we see an opportunity to reduce our response time. And so that never stops. And as you can imagine, we have a limited source of funds. So we are picking particular properties. We've got capital budget sheets set up for different stations. This opportunity is available now, and our hope is to provide better service to the community. So that's, from the fire perspective, that's all we're looking at.
Okay, you know what? We have a lot of people who want to speak, and it's getting late. So I'm going to ask some questions. Number one, if there's people here who just oppose but feel compelled they have to get up to say they oppose, I'm going to give you the opportunity right now to just stand up. If you all want to wait, you can wait, okay? But if there's people who just want to say they oppose and don't need to speak, please just stand up. Okay. All right. Now, if you just want to stand up and say you support, and you'll stand up instead of getting up to speak, please stand up. Okay, thank you. I hope we've reduced the number of the list down by a few. Judy Goldberg.
Again, like everyone else, I do appreciate what you do. We have a nephew that's in the fire EMT in Hallandale, so I know about that. You've heard all the different statements about what it's...
Please, if we're going to get through this, we have to be polite and listen.
I saw an article the other day in the news, and it was about the county and the city of Boca Raton. They are building a tower, it seems, on the Boca Municipal Golf Course. And surprisingly, GL was able to pay $200,000 to have the tower moved to another part of the golf course and made much smaller. If that is possible, why can't 13th Floor be given the opportunity to give you money in lieu of the fire station in our community?
Doug, is that yours? Oh.
I just want to clarify one thing. My name's Doug. That's Ross.
Sorry.
Doug, that's okay. Doug works for the fire department. And all I can tell you is, and I apologize, I didn't know that the community and the stages were where we are at now. I completely sympathize and empathize. Well, I you know what? I don't ignore that exists. I didn't realize that exists. But I acknowledge that exists. I acknowledge that exists. Now, I will say, when we found out about the situation, we jumped right on it. But unfortunately, I mean, the developers will know that, that this existed long before tonight. But I'm just telling you that, I didn't realize that we were talking about a vote. The fire department is not coming in here to stop something and ruin something. I'm only.
All right, please, we're better than this, you guys.
Yep. We're only here to show you the facts that there's a need in the community. That's all. And then all the questions about the property, about the traffic circle, about the alternative sites, that has to go to between the county and the developer. And I know that the developer says that they ran out of time, or it's not going to go through unless it goes through. I don't know anything about that. I'm only here to share the information and the facts that there's the need in the community. That's the hat that we wear.
When we met with the county a couple weeks ago, and Doug was there, we explained about the community vote, and that's why they scheduled this meeting tonight. Right. Don't look skeptical. We did. Okay. So what Doug just said is that a lot of the questions that are being asked have to be asked to county staff or the developer. Okay. So we can schedule a meeting and bring in the county staff, but it doesn't make sense to sit here and pose questions to county staff who aren't here when we have the fire department. So instead of going through my list, I am now going to ask if anyone here has a question specifically for the fire department. Okay.
Actually, I can answer the questions about what we did with the purchase price.
Okay, Doug Ross is good. I don't know what it is, tall, skinny man. Ross is going to answer the question about the purchase in Boca, what Judy just brought up about the $200,000 that GL Homes was able to give to somebody for some reason.
Okay, the question, as I understood it, was whether we could just accept a cash payment from the developer and go somewhere else. And the reason why I've been focusing on this map all night is that within our search radius, these are the undeveloped parcels that are available. The prices on these parcels range from $300,000 to $600,000 per acre. We need two and a half acres for the fire station. So do the math. That's $1.2 million, $1.5 million. And we allow for developers to cash out, basically buy out of their obligation. So the question is, what properties are available and will they sell? And if so, at what price? So if you look at these, the two best parcels are both approved for congregate living facilities, assisted living facilities. And the prices were $600,000 an acre. Again, $1.2 million, $1.5 million. For us to buy land to as an alternative to the dedication of the civic site.
Ross, the question was asked, what about eminent domain?
Eminent domain is something that we try to avoid at all costs. What you will find is that eminent domain is extremely expensive. It costs twice as much by the time you get done arguing about the valuations and paying the lawyers. So our price that we think we could purchase it for would most likely be like $2 million. We do not have money in the budget for the acquisition of land. The developer is required to give the land to the county for free, no charge. And
Okay, wait.
they're not willing to pay a cash out price of $1.2 million. That is a significant problem for them.
They get the land for free. So basically what Ross has been saying, but he talks low, so I'll repeat, is the land that they would get from 13th floor would be for free. And he claims that the county does not have the resources to buy another parcel of land. Okay, who has questions for the fire department? It's their day here, so let's start with you. They can't, I can answer that question. They cannot, if 13th floor does not buy the property, they cannot take the property. Do you have another plan? Do you have a plan B?
We don't have a good plan B.
Well, I'm going to call him. Okay. Fire department questions in the very back. I'm going to go in order. We're asking questions to the fire department. Where did Chris go?
I feel very disappointed right now because I feel like we've all been bamboozled. It took an hour and a half to find out the only reason our deal will go through the cracks is because the land is for free to the fire department because of the county. And it's not right. It's late in the game. Nobody else, the other properties, nobody else is being pressured like we are to vote for this when ultimately the decision is never going to be ours.
Yeah, I have a quick question for the fire department. When you showed us those pictures, there was no situation where you were totally surrounded by housing. This particular situation has you 360 degrees surrounded by housing. You're not even fronting on a major road. You have to go on a road that's clearly not designed to handle fire trucks. You don't belong there.
Oh, I have a question here. For you, Ross, can you answer how much will the county lose in tax revenue if Delray Trails is not built?
I have not done the calculations, so I do not know.
Okay, I was asked to ask the question. Okay.
So the response time is still not better than 8 minutes. Same problem we had before or after 13th floor.
Correct.
So how are we going to be saved in time now?
Well, that's the plan B. Okay. Who else has questions for the fire department?
Can you expand the facilities that are in the area and put more equipment and more people in it to cut the response time?
The question is whether or not the existing facilities can be expanded to increase response time, to decrease response time.
Yeah, so the question has been asked prior to this, and yes, we can, but it will not improve response times because they still have to travel from point A to C. That's all. So it doesn't improve the response times. The only thing that improves response times is reducing the travel.
Okay, thank you.
Hi. I just, again, thank you so much because my dad has been a recipient of your services, and so have I. So that's greatly appreciated. If the county does not have the funds to buy the land, where are the funds coming from to build this high-class fire station if it's not coming from the county?
As I said before, we have funds in place in capital sheets for the building of the fire station itself. We have not yet set aside funding for the land. That's laid out in future years.
They have the funds set aside for building. They do not have funds for the land.
I just want to echo what everyone has been saying. We have been the recipients in my family of wonderful services and in very, very wonderful time. So it came as a very big shock to me that this pastoral, beautiful landscape community, and I'm in court number 2 in Condo 1, so I'm very well impacted. And it's very, very sad, and I don't think I can get many answers tonight. But I hate to use the word blackmail, and that's exactly what it sounds like to me. I voted for the development, and now I would vote against a development with any of these other add-ons. And most of you seem to feel that way, and to me that's like blackmail. You can't have the 13 floors unless you take the firehouse. And that's exactly what it amounts to me.
Go ahead,
Please, we still have questions. Again, for the fire department.
So I'd like to know, at what point does the fire department talk to the county and have a master plan in place before you're willingly awarding land contracts for more development that apparently is either inaccessible because of money or it's otherwise unavailable? I mean, we've been caught in the short hairs. And the question is, where's the communication going between the fire department and the county in terms of a master land plan? You have many, many more developments happening in Delray Beach, and I don't understand where you're going to find the roads to navigate all of the traffic with all of the land that is going to be developed into housing. So it's not only the response time, but it seems like there's a major lack of communication between the fire department and the building and zoning department.
Go ahead.
Yes, my question is for Palm Beach County Fire Department. As has been mentioned, there is a fire station currently on Lake Ida Road. It's a little over a mile. It's 2 minutes from the south end of Palm Greens on Lake Ida Road. The other fire rescue stations, let me speak. The other Palm Beach County fire rescue stations, as has been mentioned, are on Jog Road. It's approximately 2 miles, 2 minutes from the south end of Palm Greens on Lake Ida Road. I drove it. Now, granted, I hit the lights perfectly, and I drive kind of fast, but I made it here in 2 minutes. Station 42, Hagen Ranch Road. It's a large facility. Again, approximately 2 miles from the south end of Palm Greens on Lake Ida Road. I made it here in 4 minutes. 2 miles, 4 minutes. I had to stop for lights. It took me 4 minutes. But emergency vehicles, they don't stop for lights, right? They go right through the lights. People move aside and the vehicles go ahead. So, with this response time is already well within your 7.3. So why do you need a station here?
Okay, you know what, that was very nice.
Why do you need a station here?
But okay, they gave that in their presentation. They presented why they thought they needed a station.
All right, let me ask one other question.
I gotta get to other people.
I have one other question. How many bays, if you build the station here, how many bays will it be?
Can you answer that question?
You don't know the answer?
The question is how many bays if they build the station. Hold on.
Right here.
Oh.
We're likely to build a 2-bay station here.
Okay, let me answer that.
No, I got to really go to somebody else.
Now,
I have to
let me mention this.
Please make it quick.
This will be quick. I did a little research. A 4-bay fire station can be built on 1.5 acres of land. So why do you need 2.3 whatever to build a 2-bay fire station? You don't.
Thank you. I can get you an answer to that. Doug. Oh. Chief?
I just wanted to say we staff and operate from the fire rescue facility. The fire department does have strategic planning for capital improvements, including fire rescue facilities. We gave you some of the methodologies of what that planning entails, and we do have Ross Herring with the fire facilities and development, who his job is to acquire land acquisitions for this. So the fire department is working with the county, but those questions need to go to Ross, and he can tell you why the size of the lot has to be larger than 1.2 acres, and it has a lot to do, 1.5, and he's going to give you that answer.
Yes, you might be able to build a fire station on 1 to 1.3 acres, but you have to ask Okay, how close is that fire station going to be to the adjacent residential properties? How much buffering there's going to be? What the layout and orientation of the station is? Our typical requirement is from, we've done just over 2 acres to 2.2 3/4 acres, but that's what's required to do it right, in our opinion.
Thank you, Ross. Okay.
Yeah, I'm here. I got the mic. Okay.
Oh, hi.
First of all, as a former Leo and the very, very first EMT in my department, I appreciate your service. However, I am very much against this. This fire station will be completely surrounded by housing, okay? You can be the quietest thing in the world, but with lights flashing and shift changes and all the tumult that comes from it, you are destroying our community, okay? And it's not fair to all these people and me. We're retired, we have a certain lifestyle, and you're just coming in like the biggest bullies in the world saying, take this or you have to lose all your financial ability that we're going to, our benefits. Now, there's another piece of property right at the edge of Via Del Rey and Military Trail. It surrounds the mobile station or the 7-Eleven station that's there. I don't see anybody talking about that piece of property.
Okay, again, if we have suggestions on pieces of property and other things, we can submit those after we can submit them to Ross. But right now, we have to get through our questions.
Okay, I have one question, but it's for 13th floor. And I think this is the elephant in the room.
Wait, hold on. I'm not sure they're in the room.
Are they?
They may be the elephant, but they're not in the room. Michael! Michael Nunziata.
Okay. My question for 13th floor is, and everybody should have asked this at the beginning, if the firehouse goes into the plan, is that a deal breaker for 13th floor?
No. Actually, I heard a lot of people say yes. No, it's actually not a deal breaker. The make or break on this deal is with the community. If there is a fire station included as part of this plan, it has to go back to you guys to vote on as to whether or not you want the fire station. That's what it. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Not against the fire station. I'm not going to take a position on this. If we have to build it or offer that property to the county, that's a fine solution. The issue that we have here is a timing issue, and also what I perceive, and this is, again, where I'm just calling it how I see it, a divisive issue. There's some people for, some people against, and we all know that this took a lot of time. I mean, if we were to do another community vote, think about how long it takes the staff here to print all the envelopes, get the correct mailing label, work with the attorneys to get the documents out. We just don't have the time to go through that. So, technically, the vote is with you guys. Do we have the time to do that? No.
So the question is, do we choose money or do we choose safety?
Wait, excuse me. What was the end of the question?
Do we choose money or do we choose safety?
Okay, so the question is whether we choose money or safety. Go ahead.
My question is for the gentleman who purchases the land. Sir, with all due respect, I'm not going to say I'm for it or against it because we tend to lose a lot of money. We bought here and you all bought here because you love the place. And if we have to be assessed for multiple thousands of dollars, and we left because there was a $5,000 assessment, it's not going to be $5,000. But I'm not positioning myself regarding that station. Sir, do you know that in the contract of this company was worked so well for us and with us that if anybody buys that land, they have to also consult us. And if they say no now, that means forever you will lose. And I have no disrespect because my father was in the military. Do you know that anybody who buys this land with the contract they've made because they protected us Flatiron, that they have to go with what we agreed with them. That means you will lose tax, the county's going to lose tax money forever. Forever, because no one will vote for it. But I respect what you're trying to do. I feel for my neighbors. But for having had my father die because the ambulance didn't get there in time, I understand it's not about the distance, it's about the number of calls. But I pray that they find something somewhere else, because we just moved in here and we're proud of the community. But do you know, am I right, that if someone else, if you don't buy this community, with what the contract says is that anybody else who buys it, if technically.
So can I just make a technical correction? That the instrument that we have with the Palm Greens Community Association, if we don't buy the land, it doesn't run with the land necessarily. It does not mean, however, that they wouldn't have to come to the community to get the community's approval. And look, there was a developer before us, Susan can give you some details on that the community did not want to work with, is my understanding. There were a bunch of petitions and things signed where they said, go away, right? So you still have a say in it. Is it exactly the agreement that we have with the Palm Greens Community Association? No. Could you have something similar? Potentially. But
it's not going to get sweeter than this. And I feel, let's say, for the people who've worked so hard, I wasn't here, and I feel also for people who need help, and it's not about how many there are, and the distance, I mean, it's about how many stations there are. I hope, sir, that you make every effort to find a place that's not in our community. But what if you don't? What are we going to do? What are we going to do with all this sweet, wonderful thing that we have? It's choosing a big assessment or choosing...
Okay, all right. Thank you. I'm going to go over to that side. Go ahead. Oh, you got to speak up.
Thank you. I'm fairly new here. I bought in September. I have just one question, knowing that all of you, and myself included, was really looking forward to the development as it's been proposed and as we overwhelmingly voted for it, okay? My question is, who is holding whom hostage? Is the fire department holding the county hostage, or is the county demanding that the fire department build here? I mean, is it the egg or is it the omelet?
You want to answer that, Ross? Okay, you know what? I think that was a good point.
That was promised because of something that the county and the fire department are projecting that sounds like a legal potential for me. Yeah?
All right, I just want to make this clear. I used to run a prison. I had better luck controlling the inmates than I've had tonight. Okay. Over there, okay.
My question is, according to the fire department, we have multiple stations surrounding our community. And I would like to know when we call, and I've called, like many other people, I've called for service for you guys to come, and you do come, but you don't come with one truck. You come with 2 trucks. Why can't you get more trucks and have everything on one truck that would take care of your issues of time?
Okay, I can answer that question. Depending on the call, we have a dispatch protocol to send the most appropriate resources. So if you see a fire engine and a fire rescue vehicle that looks like a big red ambulance, their ambulance has firefighter, paramedics on it. The fire engine has firefighter, paramedics on it. We could staff it like FDNY and put 6 and 7 people in a truck, but it actually doesn't meet the needs of this community with our fire-based emergency medical service model.
So
right down here, we have 92% medical. 366 calls were in this community. Minus 30 of them, they were all medical emergencies.
But then you would save time if everything was on one truck.
You know what? I agree. We would save time if we just sent the chief in his SUV, but that's not going to cut. That's not going to cut it. So we have to bring the right quality
Need it in the community.
with the.
You don't need it.
Yeah, we got to bring the right quality to the right call. And that's very, very important. So if it's a cardiac arrest, we'll send 5 or 6 people. If it's a stub toe, we'll send 1 truck. We don't send 2 trucks to everything. So that's the answer. But I just wanted to add one last thing. There was a lot of information. There was a lot of information that was shared, and I want to let you know that we're going to share that information. I almost feel like I need to apologize, even though it's not my role to apologize. You've been working on this for years, and we've only really been invited to the topic weeks ago. So I apologize on that, and I'm going to share the information with Susan so that the information can be shared with the community, because a lot of the questions and comments about the location and the distances, it's based on fact, and we're going to share the fact with you. We're going to share it with Susan.
I just have to tell you a few things. Please do not leave without signing the sheet outside. Please, we need to know where you stand on this. Okay, I'm going to have to wrap it up. It's getting late and our guests need to go home. Let me give you, I'm going to give you, I promised one person over there. I got to let her, she's going to wrap it up. One last question.
All right. Hi.
Well, I have one last question.
Okay, I'm just going to make this short and I'm making this short and sweet. I agree with all the sentiments. I'm in full support. Well, if you're quiet, we'll make it short and sweet. I think the fire department is to be commended, but what you're not realizing is that the fire department is not driving this. It's the county. It's the county. The fire department is trying their best. But my question now is, does the county have the ability to stop, reject, or delay this proposal by 13th floor if we do not do the fire station?
The question is what kind of authority the fire department has in terms of...
Susan, it's not the fire department, it's the county. Can the county reject the permit if the fire station is killed?
Okay, Doug, Ross, I don't know what it is with you two. Ross, the question, do you want to answer? The question is, can the county staff deny the application if it doesn't have the fire station included?
I'm Audrey Wolf. I'm the Director of Facilities. County staff does not have the ability to approve or deny the application. What we do is we make a recommendation as to whether or not it is in compliance with our code, and we are supporting it. And right now, the requirement is that there be a civic site, which we would put a fire station on, or there needs to be a cash out that will result in an acceptable fire station site. That's what's necessary to meet the code. So that is our recommendation. The cash out option comes, the developer can choose the cash out option if they can find a site that's acceptable to us and pay us to buy the site, because the requirement is, because the code, the land development code says that certain developments of certain sizes have to dedicate 2% of their land for civic purposes. End of story, happens to everybody. So the option is, so I know, yes, but that's the code. There's ways around the code. It's not around. Alternate compliance with the code is that you could cash out. But the purpose of the civic site is there to ensure that we are going to have public facilities in the places that we need them. So that's why the requirement for the site or so that we can get the site. So those are the two. That's the strict compliance, and then there's the alternate compliance. Sure.
Okay, you know what? You're being relatively rude to Audrey, so I understand people are upset, tension's high, so it's a good time for us to end tonight. This conversation is not over, okay? And if there are burning questions you have that have to be asked immediately, I'm going to give you, well, it's very easy to remember, Palm Greens Community Association, one word, @gmail.com. email us whatever questions, concerns you have. We will make sure it's directed to the appropriate people. Okay? Let's thank the fire department for coming here.
I want to say,
And the county staff.
before everybody goes, I want to remind everybody that there will be public hearings in July where this can be brought to the commissioners who can overrule this.